to evolve. Road trip. Summer to evolve. Summer to evolve. Yeah. The summer to evolve. Road trip. Summer to evolve. Summer to evolve. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. As you just saw on the Summer to Evolve road trip this week, we are in Seattle. This is our first stop, and you are at Working Session Wednesdays. We're here for Racing Back to Normal, how to get there. I'm Amber Ferrari. I'm on the marketing team here at Jobvite, Marketing Communications Manager. Just want to cover a couple of housekeeping things, and then we can welcome the instructor of this lesson today, Jason Berkowitz, our Senior Accounts Manager. So before we get started, if you have any questions, there is a questions panel in the GoToWebinar control panel. Please shoot any questions in there. We will get them answered for you. In the last 10 minutes of our session today, we will have a fun little refresher quiz for some prizes. So definitely be watching the chat. We'll let you know how to get logged into that. It's called Kahoot. So very excited to have that little quiz at the end. And also, if you want to share some insights from today on social media, please tag Jobvite and also use hashtag Jobvite S2E. So I'm going to welcome Jason Berkowitz, who's going to get us started on Racing Back to Normal, how to get there. Take it away, Jason.
Thanks, Amber, and thanks to everybody who joined. It's so exciting to see the numbers of attendees tick up as the minutes pass by. So thanks for joining, everybody. I promise that picture is me. I know it looks like a totally different person. It was probably 6 years ago, pre-pandemic, pre-COVID pounds, pre-beard, all that kind of stuff. But that is definitely me. I am glad to be joining you with bringing 25 years of experience in the talent acquisition space, largely running pretty large recruitment teams. So I'm a practitioner as well as an account manager. And a couple fun travel facts about me to give some flavor to Jason. My two favorite places to go in the world are Barcelona, Spain, and Taupo, New Zealand. Both places I did triathlons when I was a younger, more spry fellow. Would I rather be in the driver's seat or the passenger seat? Definitely the passenger seat. I love music, so I'll be DJing, picking some songs, clicking around the radio, that sort of thing. Plane, train, or automobile, definitely plane. Get a lot of really good work done on planes. In fact, I used to joke I should put a row of airplane seats in my office, you know, and a Wi-Fi blocker so I could have that kind of focused working time. And favorite international cuisine, Indian food. I don't cook it very much. I'm quite a cook, but Indian food has lots of ingredients I don't keep around, so I don't get to cook it a lot. So I like to eat it out when I can. So Working Session Wednesdays, today we're going to talk about the road back to normal a little bit. And I want to start by saying that it is, my prediction is that we're going to blow past normal, right? We're talking about racing back to normal, but I think we're going to blow very rapidly past normal and get into an unprecedentedly challenging hiring environment. I firmly believe that 2021 into 2022 is going to be the most difficult HR and talent acquisition climate we've seen in probably the last 20 years. And all the data about what's going on in the world supports that view. If you look at jobless claims, you'll see that huge spike in March and early April 2020 when the country basically closed down, and then it's kind of dropped off and has been kind of dropping steadily ever since. Obviously, there's a lot of variance by industry, but overall, there is not a glut of candidates that are looking to go back to work, and it will continue to be a candidates market as opposed to a hiring company market for a while. I mean, last summer, my kids could not find summer employment, and this summer, every place we go has help wanted signs out front. So obviously, things have changed quite a bit in the last year. At the same time, so we've got this like fewer candidates than we want. We've got this all signs pointing to broad economic growth. So the stock market's doing really well. New home construction is up, even though the cost of lumber is very high. People are traveling again. We're starting to see the signs of inflation. Consumer confidence is really good. People got that stimulus money they're looking to spend. So the kind of there's a lot of dollars that are going to be flowing into the economy, and obviously we need people to kind of do that work. At the same time, a lot of people are predicting what they're calling the Great Resignation. So both research and anecdotal evidence is pointing to the fact that there's going to be a lot more turnover in 2021 and 2022 than we saw previously. In fact, Microsoft recently reported that based on the data from LinkedIn, about 40% of people are looking to change job in the next year. So if you take 160-ish million working adults and say 40% of those people change jobs, and all of those jobs have to get backfilled, that's 64, 65 million jobs that are going to have to get filled in 2021. So that's a pretty big deal. And finally, demand for recruiters is going through the roof. I mean, this is anecdotal, but a couple weeks ago, I got 2 separate unsolicited invitations to take a job as a contract recruiter in the same day. Now, obviously, that's a whole different thing about whether people should be targeting me to be a contract recruiter. It's not exactly a good fit for me, but regardless, what it tells me is that the companies out there that do recruiting services are starting to get worried about the fact that the demand is going to go way up and they're going to need people to do it. So in conclusion, fewer people out of work, broad economic growth, increasing turnover due to the Great Resignation of 2021, and increasing demand for recruiters. All together, that points to the fact that the next 12 to 18 months in the recruiting space are going to be very, very difficult. So what are you going to do about it? So there are 6, what I'm going to present in the next 15 minutes or so is 6 top tips for kind of getting back into high volume hiring mode, actionable tips. Build strategic pipelines, build your process for speed, nurture and refresh your talent networks, be easy to work with, leverage employee referrals, and know your numbers. So obviously we're a talent acquisition software company, so we have a bias towards the use of technology to improve hiring results, but you don't need fancy software or a huge recruiting team to implement these tips. These are things you can start doing immediately, regardless of what your technology stack looks like. Even if you're still using pencil and paper and file folders and that sort of thing, a lot of these tips are applicable. So we're going to go rapid fire, and hopefully it'll give you some good food for thought over the coming months. So tip number 1, build strategic pipelines. So sourcing in advance for the most frequently hired and or most critical roles is just smart business, a proactive investment of time where it's most likely to pay off. At the simplest level, pipelining is simply building your supply of candidates in certain areas before you have an approved requisition. So it's creating supply in advance of demand for key roles, not for every job in the company, but for key roles. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can literally be a file folder you keep on your desk, or a tag you apply in your applicant tracking system, or a folder in your CRM, to indicate these are kind of future candidates. And I like to think of it as, or liken it to kind of shopping for ingredients in your pantry, right? You know you're going to use flour and sugar and salt and butter all the time. At least I do, because I bake a lot. So you keep those things on hand, right? You don't go shopping every time you want to bake something. You keep the things on hand. So similarly, as a TA professional, you know you'll be constantly hiring salespeople or engineers or nurses or whatever. So create a sourcing machine that's always running for those key areas. So how do you do it? Step 1, identify evergreen or frequently filled positions. So you know the jobs that you're filling all the time regularly, where there's consistent turnover and where there's a pretty predictable need. Those are the ideal jobs to be pipelining against. Also analyzing both where turnover is and where it's likely going to be, and where it's going to be the most painful. So really want to focus on pipelining for the jobs where it's going to be the most painful to your organization to have them open for long periods of time. Things like sales positions that are revenue generating are really good to be building pipelines against. You can make a good ROI argument there. Partner with your business leaders, right? Go talk to your hiring managers. Ask them where they're going to be growing in the next year. Ask them where they're worried about turnover happening. Ask them, where do you want me to be spending my time to be building pipelines for you? Set goals. Doesn't have to be terribly complex. If you know that you think you're going to be hiring 10 new salespeople in the next 90 days, and you know that it takes you, call it 20 candidates to fill a job, well, 20 times 10, 200. You got to go out and create a pipeline folder with 200 sales candidates in it. And then lastly, but not least, automate. So if you have tools, if you have some technology, there are ways to set up auto searching where you're automatically running a search every day, either against your database or even externally against other job boards and that sort of thing. So you can set up automation so you don't even have to do this manually. It's just happening in the background. And then obviously you want to measure and monitor. So if your goal was I've got to get 200 candidates in this folder by in 30 days from now, you got to measure your performance against that over time. So build strategic pipelines ahead of need, but only in areas where you're pretty confident that the need is going to happen. Because if you build a big pool of candidates and no jobs open, then those people are going to get other jobs and you're going to be kind of back to the starting line. So that's number one. Number two, automate for speed. So increasingly, speed is becoming a competitive differentiator in talent acquisition. The best talent will be hired by companies with the fastest process. We as a society are being trained to be impatient. Blame Amazon, blame DoorDash, blame Netflix, blame Spotify, whatever it is. The fact that I can place an order with Amazon and have it show up on my doorstep 12 hours later is amazing. But contrast that with the average hiring process, which on average takes 42 days across all industries. So does it really take 42 days to do a 5-minute resume screen and a 30-minute phone interview and a couple 45-minute interviews and a couple references and make an offer? No, that's not, it doesn't take 42 days. So clearly there's a lot of downtime, right? There's a lot of waiting in the process. And if you can create automation to kind of cut that down, you will increase your speed and you'll get better candidates. So the trick is to find the waste and use automation to cut down on the amount of time that that things take. So this actually, I know I said you don't need technology. This may be an exception to that. It's hard to automate without technology. But look at your process, your hiring process, and look for those repeatable processes that lend themselves to automation. So for example, if you do a lot of sourcing off LinkedIn or Indeed or Monster or anything, you know that every candidate that you source, you're going to have to reach out to and invite them to apply or reach out to and try to get into a conversation with. So can you create a process wherein you bring those candidates in, you drop them in a folder, and your technology automatically blasts a pre-written email that puts their name in and all that kind of stuff? It's not rocket science, but it can save a lot of time. If it takes 2 to 3 minutes of each candidate to send them an outreach email, and you can automate that, multiply that by how many candidates are coming through your process, you're going to save an enormous amount of time. A lot of applicant tracking systems will allow you to trigger an email to candidate when they change stages. So for example, if you move somebody from under consideration to I want to phone interview them, you could automatically blast out a scheduler tool like is shown on the screen to ask them for their availability and try to align it with yours instead of multiple emails back and forth trying to make a schedule. Hiring manager feedback, one of the biggest complaints from recruiters is my hiring managers interview people and they never tell me who they like, and I'm chasing them down to try to get feedback. So can you put an app on their phone to make it easier? Can you automatically send them an email after every interview happens? Can you come up with some mechanism to make it easier for them to provide you that feedback? And then interview scheduling, we talked about a little bit, and job closure. This is a big one, right? Closing the job, letting all the candidates know what happened, keeping your silver medalists or your kind of runner-up candidates engaged. All of these things, if you can create automation around them, it'll save the time of your recruiters and let you hire faster. All right, tip number 3, nurture your database. So the value of a past applicant or lead is directly related to the depth and recency of your relationship with them. So having a database of 1 million candidates doesn't have a lot of value if you haven't interacted with those candidates for years, right? You have to work to maintain the relationship just like you do in outside of recruitment, right? Relationships take maintenance. The way I like to think about it is a really good candidate, like a really juicy in-demand candidate, has the shelf life of a gallon of milk, right? 10 to 14 days, and that candidate, once they come on the market, someone's gonna snap them up and the milk's gonna expire. On the flip side, not so great candidates have the shelf life of that dusty can of beans in the back of your pantry, right? Where 2 years later you bring it out, wipe it off a little bit, and that's dinner. So the more in demand your candidates are, the more frequently you need to be in touch with them in order to keep your database fresh. If you're dealing with high demand, cybersecurity, clearance people, nurses, all these really hard to fill roles, IT professionals, these really hard to fill roles, those candidates move so quick that once you got someone in your database, you better be talking to them all the time so that if they take another job, you can get them on the next go round. So touch your candidates at least quarterly, could be more frequently, but at least quarterly. And when you outreach, and this is a common mistake that we see, when you outreach to candidates, take the conversation beyond the open jobs. I don't think, and this may be controversial, but I don't think that just sending job openings to a candidate helps you build a relationship with them. In fact, if anything, emphasizing your culture and your benefits and your values and company news is how you build relationships. In fact, our 2021 Job Seeker Nation survey, where we surveyed thousands of job seekers to understand kind of what they're looking for, we found that 86% of candidates said that company culture was either somewhat important or very important to their decision. And they're actively looking on Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn and TikTok and all these other places to learn about your culture. And in fact, the percentage of people who said culture was very important went up from 37% in 2019 to almost 50% in 2020. So, I mean, almost half of your candidates are saying that culture is very important, so you've got to showcase it. So get your culture in these communications out to your candidates. Make it easy for candidates to update their profile. Using the can of beans analogy, maybe the person's changed from a can of beans to a gallon of milk in the last couple of years. Maybe they got some certification, took some training, got a licensure that suddenly makes them very in demand. So make it easy for candidates to log into your system, provide a new resume, update their phone number, change their email address, all these sorts of things, so that you can stay in touch with them over time as what you have in your database starts to drift from reality as they evolve as a candidate. And then lastly, track engagement for sure. There are ways to, every candidate has a digital footprint of how they engage with you. Do they open your emails or not? Are they opening your email? That means they're pretty engaged. Are they deleting your email? Maybe less engaged. Are they unsubscribing? Probably very unengaged. Are they applying for jobs? Are they visiting your website? Are they browsing for jobs on your website? Are they signing up for job alerts? All of these things are little digital cookie crumbs that tell you whether a candidate is engaged and how that engagement is changing over time. Are they getting more engaged or are they getting less engaged with you? So if you can find ways to use technology to track that level of engagement, it'll allow you to understand where you need to spend your time in nurturing your database. All right, number 4, be easy to work with. Candidate loyalty will depend on how easy or hard you make it for your candidates to interact with you. There's this book that I want to highly recommend, if I can get it out from under this pile here. There's this book called The Effortless Experience. And this isn't a recruiting book, it's more of a kind of commerce business book. But the point they make, to save you reading the whole thing, basically they said the companies that are easiest to work with are going to be the ones that win in the market. And I would say that's absolutely the same, or absolutely true in the talent acquisition space. Think about the difference between Amazon's kind of one-click ordering. I see something I like and I click buy it now, boom, and they send it to me, versus having to go and like create a long profile and put my credit card number in and put my shipping address in and then put my billing address in, even if it's the same as my shipping address, like crazy, right? So contrast those two, make it easy to work with. And the number one place, the biggest impact that you can make day one, if you're requiring candidates to create an account in order to apply for your jobs, you will lose, our data tells us, about 50%, if not more, 50 to 65% of candidates will drop out when confronted with an account creation screen. So, look at this example. Uppercase character, special character, minimum of 8 characters, alphabetic, lowercase, and a numeric character. That's a lot, right? That's a lot to have to set up, to have to remember. If I'm applying for 50 jobs a day because I'm an out-of-work person, this is going to be really challenging. So make it easy for people to apply. Take these login screens away. Set clear expectations throughout. Tell them when you're going to get back to them, and then meet those commitments. That's the number one thing about being easy to work with, is set and meet commitments. Provide self-service options for candidates to get status updates. The number one complaint that we get from candidates in the hiring process is, I never know what's happening, I never hear anything. I apply, it's a black hole. So if you can provide a portal where people can get self-service updates and say, oh, where's my status? Oh, it looks, I'm under consideration, that's good. That's really powerful. Minimize duplication of effort. So again, I went through a apply process recently where I had to enter my name and email address 5 times because it was 5 different forms, but it seemed kind of silly. Hey, you've got my name and email address, put it in on page 1. Can it flow through to the rest of them? That would make it easier to work with y'all. And last but not least, secret shop your process, right? So log in from a new computer and go through the hiring process from soup to nuts and see how it feels from a candidate. You'll probably learn a lot. All right, employer referrals. Employer referrals are hired faster. They have a higher conversion rate, they stay longer, and they're less costly to hire than any other source. We recognized this in 2019, so we went out and we bought an employer referral platform to build into our suite, and we've learned a lot since then. And a couple of the key takeaways are, you want to reward, best practices to not just reward the hire, the referral hire, but reward people who actually make referrals. Put a lottery in place. Hey, everybody you refer, whether we ever talk to them or not, you refer them, you get a lottery entry, and at the end of the year, we give away something cool, right? Ask early and often, when is somebody happiest in employment? The day they start. When part of your onboarding process should be sitting down with a person and saying, tell me 3 people who do the same job you are, who you have respect for. I want to reach out to them and see if they want to join us. So ask on day 1. Publish clear rules of ownership. So you want to make it clear, what happens if 2 people refer the same candidate? What happens if I refer them now, a year ago, and someone refers them today? What if we refer them to the same job or different jobs? So make those rules really clear and make them simple if you possibly can. Track and communicate to the referrers what the status of their candidates is, similar to the portal, the candidate portal we were talking about. If there's a portal where people can log in and see everybody they've referred, what the status is, who's been hired, what bonuses they're eligible for, that's really powerful. Set targets, definitely have a target. What percentage of people do we want to hire through employee referrals this year, and how do we want to grow that year over year? And regularly remarket it. You got to constantly go back to your employees and let them know that you've got an employee referral program, because people just forget about it. Gamification works really well, by the way. If you can publish leaderboards or put things up to say, here's who's referring the most, here's how much we're paying to the people who are referring the most, that can be really powerful. And then tip number 6, and then we'll go to our Kahoot quiz. Know your numbers, right? If you can't measure it, you can't improve it, said Peter Drucker famously. What's really critical is to understand your leading and your lagging indicators. And we could spend an hour on that topic alone, but since we're running short on time, the way I was taught it was use the example of weight loss. It's not a great example, but I think it makes sense to most people. If you want to lose weight, the numbers you see when you step on the scale is the lagging indicator. The leading indicator would be things like the number of minutes of exercise you get a week, the number of calories you take in, the macronutrients that you're eating, the number of glasses of water that you drink, all that sort of thing. So you set targets for the leading indicators, which then drive the results in the lagging indicators. So in talent acquisition, the time to fill is a lagging indicator. That's what we're driving towards. We want to hire faster. The leading indicator might be something like the number of IQA presented today, interested, qualified, available candidates, right? And you might say to your sourcers, you have to present 5 interested, qualified, available candidates to jobs every day in order for us to be driving towards the time to fill that we want. Or maybe they're presenting 5, but they really need to be presenting 7, and you work on that leading indicator that drives the lagging indicator. So enough about that, but build, when you're gonna report your numbers internally, build visual dashboards for different audiences. Your recruiter needs a different dashboard than the manager does, which is a different dashboard than what the head of TA needs, which is different from what the CHRO needs. So really understand the needs of the different audiences and then build dashboards that are visual as best you can. Big spreadsheets with lots of numbers on them are hard for most people to absorb, especially as you get up to the executive level. And leverage benchmarking data, right? How are you going to know how you're doing if you haven't benchmarked yourself against your industry or your competitors? And again, at the risk of a somewhat shameless Jobvite plug, we have an incredible resources section on our website. It's free. All you got to do is you give us your email address and we'll give you access to this stuff. Like I said, we published the Job Seeker Nation report, 40 pages of incredible detail about what job seekers are looking for. We've also got industry specific stuff like manufacturing, manufacturing hiring, retail, healthcare, some other things like that. So lots of resources. Go there. You can filter by resource type. It's really incredible. And it's good. So hopefully it's been helpful. With that, we will take a quiz and see if everybody's paying attention.
Thank you, Jason. As promised, quick hitting tips that you can take back to your teams after enjoying this today. And we wouldn't want you to leave here without the chance to win a prize. So if you could please join me in the chat, there is a link to kahoot.it and you have a code to enter. So just enter your name. I'll give you guys a few seconds to get in here. I see Danielle and Amy and Justin and Mel B are already in here. So we could get a few more participants.
Amber, are presenters eligible to win, or is it only the participants?
I think you kind of have an unfair advantage, Jason, but I think you could still play.
See if I can get them right.
I'm not going to deprive you of fun. That's not my style. All right, if we could get maybe 3 more participants and then we'll get started. All right, we're gonna go for it. And I'll read the questions out loud. You have 10 seconds to answer. 3, 2, 1. When identifying which roles to build strategic pipelines for, the best candidates are positions with high turnover, critical revenue generating roles, positions that are defined as most critical by the business, or all of the above? Please give us your answers. All righty, we'll keep going through. We've got Ashley in the lead. Who's going to take Ashley? Question 2, fill in the blank. The blank talent will be hired by companies with the blank process. Is that going to be worst and slowest, most creative and strangest, best and fastest, or worst and fastest? Get those answers in there. Best and fastest. So best talent, fastest process. Ashley's still at the top of the leaderboard. Let's go to question 3. Best practice in keeping your talent database fresh is to touch each candidate at least daily, monthly, weekly, quarterly. Submit your answers for that Jobvite Summer to Evolve swag. And the answer is quarterly. Oop. We've got a new leaderboard winner, Elisa Marie. Awesome. The competition is thick here, everyone. Employee referrals should be a top source of hires because employee referrals stay longer, convert from applicant to hire at higher rates than other sources, cost less, and are faster to hire, or all of the above. This is question number 4. The answer is all of the above. Good job, everyone. We're still neck and neck here. Justin is creeping up to try and take that top spot. And the final question, leading indicators tell you blank, lagging indicators tell you blank. There's a lot of copy here, everyone. I don't know if I can read it in enough time. Let's see what we can do. Who's coming out on top? It was what is likely to happen and what already happened is our answer, and our winner today is, in 3rd place, we have Natalie. In 2nd place, we have Danielle. And in 1st place, we have Justin G. Justin G, if you can reach out to me directly, we're going to put my email in the chat. I will get you your prize of the day. But everyone stay here. We do have one more chance to win prizes, which we're going to bring up here real quick to get you your 2nd chance to win some Jobvite swag. So let us just transition the screens real quick. And your 2nd chance to win with us today is to visit jobvite.com/word. So at the end of each session during the Summer to Evolve road trip, there's going to be a word of the day. So if you enter the word of the day, it's different for every single session. You put yourself in the hat to win the grand prize of the summer, which is a $1,000 gift card to Marriott. So there's going to be a weekly drawing for Jobvite swag for people who enter the word of the day, and then there's going to be an entire summer drawing for you to win that $1,000 gift card. So please visit jobvite.com/word. We put the full link here in the chat. Enter the word otters because there are otters in Seattle where we are this week, and we will get you entered for that. So if we go to the next slide, just a couple things to close up. This week, we've already had 2 talented. You just attended Working Session Wednesday, and tomorrow you have the chance to attend Walkthrough Thursdays. These are our product-focused sessions, so you can learn about tools to help you with efficiency on recruitment marketing. So definitely check that out. We put the link in the chat. Once again, get signed up for tomorrow's session. And then week number 2, That's next week. We're going to be covering everything within the new diverse workforce. So we'll have Too Talented again. Another working session Wednesday. We hope you will join with Chandra on our customer success team. She's going to be talking about DE&I, moving from strategy to action. And then we will have another DE&I focused walkthrough Thursday. So definitely get signed up for tomorrow, get signed up for the rest of the summer, get signed up for next week. We hope to see you back here. Thanks for joining us for Working Session Wednesdays. It's been great to have you. I'm Amber Ferrari. If you need to connect with me, find me on LinkedIn. Thanks so much and see you tomorrow and the rest of the summer.